See, I think we're live. So let's if you guys are in the comment section, let me know. I know Maddie, I saw you commented before we started. Let me know if you can hear us, if we're all good. But guys, welcome back to another show. And as always, really enjoyed doing the live interviews since we started them about a couple weeks ago. You guys have been loving them. So super excited to welcome my guy Ben Teer onto the show today. Ben, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
Good, good. Like I said, always excited to do these. It's always a fun time, especially when people start showing up and asking questions and stuff like that. So definitely excited to get this going.
You having me?
Now, as we're getting started, for anyone who might not know who you are, maybe it's the first time coming across your page, your content, and you give everyone an idea of like your background, how you got into what you're doing right now, what exactly it is that you do.
Yeah. Long story short, I had a pretty serious injury. I was at Iona College in New Rochelle, New York.
Yeah.
I had a pretty serious injury then, so came back home and finished out my college years in my hometown. And during that process, got married, and obviously, had to think about what was the next step. It didn't really look like pro was going to work out for me, and then with a wife, there's just new responsibilities, of course.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, well, all the time, I'd train and work with little kids, or high school students would work out with me during my college years. And I really enjoyed it. I love passing on knowledge to them. And so my last year of college, I thought, why not? Let's start this basketball training business. I opened up a social media page, built my own website, and just started working locally. And then over the last 5 years, grown into, I would put it up probably the largest training brand in Maine, working with countless players all over the United States. Just had an 8th grade girl that I work with. She's going to be an incoming freshman now. I started with her in 4th grade. She just got her second offer from Vanderbilt. Her first one's from Indiana.
That's crazy.
Incoming freshman, 12.
That's crazy.
So it's grown just from local to that in just 5 years. And it's like, I'm still trying to catch up and just, get with everything. So it's fun, man. It's fun.
For sure. It's crazy hearing people getting offers in like 8th grade coming into high school. And like, you don't really people think like, oh, I'm going to just get an offer my senior year. And it does happen in some cases, but a lot of the times these athletes are just built different. They're crazy.
Yeah. Very committed. Very committed.
For sure. And I know you mentioned on the live we did earlier, like during your playing career, like as an undersized guard, like how did that impact and translate over to how you train your players now? Did that have an impact at all?
It does. Kind of like, either you want it or you don't. I wasn't fortunate enough to be tall or be athletic, like you said. And so for me, as crazy as it sounds, I had to put in 7-8 hours in the gym every single day just to be able to get looked at and noticed. It didn't even guarantee anything. Some of these players, they're so athletic, they're so naturally talented. And, they get these offers or looks potentially maybe right away, even if it's from Division III or even NAIA. I didn't even have that. I had no offers, no looks, and I had to fight and claw for everything, and had to be very obsessed with the smallest, minute nuances and details. How do I distribute my weight so that I can shift this 6'4" defender who's athletic and long? And that carries over into my training, not just, I think, the details, but the mentality where, either you want it or you don't, because there's a lot of people out there that are gonna fight you for it and try to, compete with you for this. So you got to make sure when you're in here, we're serious. We set goals. We check off those goals as we move along, and we're constantly pushing for more. So I think that's the two things.
Got you. And then like definitely 7-8 hours a day is no joke. How did your body hold up with all that?
Right now I feel it. Back then I didn't.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and that's what I'm so glad I'm on this with you, because, I know you're big into nutrition and, our bodies. And I don't think I took that as serious as I should have. And I don't think a lot of young players do, especially.
You realize it way too late.
You're so right. And it catches up so quickly. But my body took a lot, where I feel it now today, and you have to keep up with it now, that if you do kind of just stop with how serious I went, it's like I don't know, a chain link effect. It just hits you all at once. And and you got to keep going after that. So I wish I had taken care of my body more, rehabbed, ate well, and done all that stuff, because it's caught up.
For sure. And then just in general, this is a pretty loaded question. You can go wherever you want with this, but what would you say like your overall philosophy is when it comes to skills training and working with your players?
So do you mean for them, what they need to do, or kind of my philosophy with my training?
More so like your philosophy with your training.
Um, uh, I don't know. That's a great question. I think for the business side, it would be, um, focus on the players, and the business will build itself. But for building
Yeah.
players and kind of for them, um, I would say killer mindset. Honestly, I would say
Hmm.
if you're not here to be number one, you're in the wrong place. I know that's our motto this off season. Where like I said, you got to want it. You got to want it. You got to really, really commit to
Yeah.
this. This has got to be something that you're passionate about and that you love, because especially now, there's just so many people that want what you want. So I think my philosophy is when you're in here, we're in here to be number one, and we're in here to get everything we can out of you. I think that's it right there. Would be I want players to understand they're here to reach their full potential of who they are. If,
Yeah.
if we don't help you reach who you are and your highest potential, then I think I failed you as your not just trainer, but your friend, your mentor, and someone that hopefully you trust outside of the court as
For
well.
sure.
So yeah, I would say that's it.
Yeah, no, I love that, especially like the idea of reaching your full potential. Like whether that is an NBA All-Star Hall of Famer or an NAI player that plays in college and you're done after that, like it doesn't really matter. Like as long as you really go like as far as you can, that's the most important thing, no doubt.
100. If you love something, you're never satisfied. You're always trying to figure out
Yeah,
ways to make it better, to be more efficient, to get more out of it. So I couldn't agree more with you.
for sure. And it looks like we already got some questions. Let me pull up one of them onto the screen. Matt asks, what are some ways small guards can use their size to their advantage?
Well, yeah, we're already low to the ground, so we got to really understand how to get low, how to change speeds, how to change levels. I think those are two of the most important things, especially from like seventh, eighth grade to high school. That jump from then, you
Yeah,
got to really understand how to change your levels from like you're in your stance to your shoulder is now getting to that defender's hip, and that's easier for smaller guards. So you got to master that, and you got to build your game around options and moves and counters that can allow you to exploit that, because you can get lower than most of these taller guards. So I would say that, and then of course change of speed. You're already low to the ground, so you got to be able to explode out of there and go from 0 to 100.
for sure. Love it. Love it. And then another question we got regarding looks like screens. So we
Okay.
got what are some drills to do with screens? I'm a point guard. These are vital for me to get shots, assists, and points for my team. I'm a female player. Love to hear you trained an eighth grade girl.
I honestly predominantly train girls, so probably like
Yeah, that's
80%
awesome.
of my clientele is girls, and I love it. This I live in Maine. I don't know if he said that. And so 5 years ago when I first started, almost nobody was really working with girls, and
Really?
yeah, man. And then it's just like girls are hoopers, and that's what I tell the girls that I work with. Like
Hmm.
I'm not going to train you like a girl. I'm going to train you like a hooper. You're a basketball player, so and
Yeah.
they love it. They love to be obviously treated that way, and they should be treated that way. But to our question, I think with screens, one of the most important things is to put yourself in game like situations. So, what are you mostly going to see through your offense and through your system? Figure out what mostly do you get. Do you get more pull ups? Do you get more looks for your big? Do you get more two dribble? Like what counters are you going to look for? I think really look at your situations, the spots you're going to get into, and then kind of reverse engineer from that. Like, okay, I need to really execute this, so I need this many makes, and et cetera, et cetera. So I would say something along the lines of just base it around your system and your offense.
Got you, got you. And then a really interesting point you brought up as far as like the quote unquote differences between training girls, training boys.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, they're really like you don't approach it as like training girls versus boys. Like,
Not at all.
are there any differences, or is it just same
Um,
regardless?
I mean, there's probably different moves that will work better. If we're being
Yeah,
honest
for
and
sure.
realistic, there's probably more athleticism in the air with boys.
Yeah.
So you want to look for more stuff around that. But any like that doesn't mean that I will just make boys do that. Like, I have girls that I will make them get up in the air, hang, finish. There's a girl that I work with right now. She's an incoming junior. She just dunked a tennis ball the other day.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so it's like
That's
there's
dope. Yeah,
don't get it twisted. There are great freak athletic in a good way girl players as well, and
for
so
sure.
but there are differences with moves, I think, that would work well because relatively, the men's game is taller players all around. You
Yeah,
got your seven footers, 6'10", 6'7", and that could be from 2 to 5 for the spots. So there are different moves like that. But at the end of the day, if a girl wants to learn it, we're gonna do it. That's it.
yeah, for sure. When I was doing a little bit of research for the interview, I was looking at some of the highlights of like you train to senior girls, and like it's crazy. Like
Yeah,
there really is not like you said, they're hoopers. They're hoopers. And I
that's
think
it.
for whatever reason, there's this stereotype that like women's basketball is just like not the same. And obviously there are differences, but
Right.
if you know basketball, it's not like one
They
is
can
better than
get
the other.
buckets
Like
too.
they're hoopers.
They can,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
man. Yeah, they give me work. So
Yeah.
I give them.
What's your opinion? I've heard a couple people bring up the idea of possibly like for the WNBA, like lowering the rims just to make it more of that, like the dunking and stuff like that you see in the men's game. What's your opinion on that? I feel like I feel like I see the argument like going both ways.
Yeah, that's tough because I'm not a female. I mean, I think I would enjoy watching it.
Yeah,
I think at the end of the day, though, um, you know, it's tough, man. Because what I enjoy
it
watching
is.
too is like, I enjoy like the extra pass. I enjoy the executed plays and. But I think, man, this basketball has just become so much of a highlight play. Like we're
Yeah.
we're we're looking, and there's just not a lot of that in the female game, or it's not highlighted at least.
Hmm.
So I think it's great to play with, but if I'm being honest, maybe it would come better from a female, their
For sure.
perspective. But I mean, either way, I would try it. Why not try it? Let's see how it
Yeah.
goes. And if it doesn't work, then we can always go back. I know NBA toys and tinkers with stuff in the D League all the time. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I would say.
Got you. Got you. Yeah, it'd be really interesting if they were to go that route, like how you would even implement that. Because then you'd have to have
From
rims
the
that change it, like even
Yeah,
like just at parks, like outside, like having two different
right.
rims, and I feel like it'd just be really difficult to implement. But I do see the potential positives of it. But like I said, it can go both ways.
From a fundamental level too. I mean, how would you allow the younger kids? How would they for girls? Because I know there's a lot of
Yeah,
co-ed programs here. So it's what would you do with if there's boys on the team and girls? So yeah, you're right. That probably wouldn't happen. It would just be too hard to execute over a wide span of ages. But maybe
for sure.
something. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. So we got another question. Let's see. What makes Sabrina Ionescu? I can't pronounce I was stuck at pronouncing the last
I
name.
know who he means though.
I know who he's talking about. I know who he's talking about. I apologize for butchering the name, but so dominant in the pick and roll. What makes her so dominant in the pick and roll setting?
I would say confidence. You could tell she's very confident. She knows either way, even if she doesn't know what she's looking for, she doesn't look like she's ever rushed or ever panicked. And that would be the second thing I'd say. Pace. She has such a great pace and change of speed. She comes off the pick and roll, and she doesn't rush. She lets what happens happen, and then I have a saying with a lot of my
Yeah.
players. I say, "Be where your feet are," and so you're not thinking ahead. Where you're
Mm,
at is what you're thinking about, and so you can tell she has a very great pace about her. And then I think number three is she's not afraid to make contact, and by doing that, she opens up kind of all three levels of her game: the drive, the mid range, and the 3-pointer. So I would say those three things are what she's huge at, very good at.
got you. Love it. Love it. And then another question we got: what are some drills to improve my offhand for dribbling?
This one is the one I always tell people first because it's the easiest.
Yeah.
You take your phone, take a fork, take a spoon, put it in your weaker hand and eat and do everything with it for about 2 to 3 weeks. And what you'll
Oh,
do
no
is
way.
you'll develop the coordination,
Yeah.
and kind of like from there, then you can just build with it off that, and obviously do drills and stuff. But I always tell people to
Yeah.
do that for 3 weeks straight. Don't cheat. Don't do anything with your strong hand. And I got that from a guy that was like, man, he was like 70, 60 years old. And I was in high school. And me being crazy enough, I'm like, all right, I'll try it. And I swear, since that day, I've been ambidextrous. I can shoot with both hands. I can dribble with both
Really?
hands, finish with both hands. Just everything I do from that point, I feel like I had just the coordination and control, with both hands. And then from there, it just like you just do normal drills, and it just
Yeah.
feels so much different. So that's my honest answer, and no one's ever taken me up for it. So whatever their name is, I would love for you to give it a try and then come back to me and tell me what happened.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I've actually
Mhm.
I've never heard that from anyone else. Like
Yeah.
a lot of drills and concepts, you see a lot of overlap between trainers, but like I've literally never heard that from anyone else. That's super interesting. I love that one.
Yeah, it is. It's very good, and it works. It does work.
That's awesome. Now, a question I got, it's not on here, but I know I got it on the Instagram questions box. It's like, what's your take on the use of equipment like tennis balls and other stuff like besides just basketball, like in like ball handling and just in general, like in skills workouts? Are you a big fan of using extra equipment, or is it mostly like just game situations for you?
Yeah, yeah. I think for younger players, it's very good, and it teaches them to divide their focus on multiples of different things. And at the end of the day, it worked. It worked for me, and I know a lot of other trainers that type of stuff has worked for. For me, I think it felt like there'd be no difference in a game. Like if I can't handle the ball while tossing up a tennis ball or grabbing and holding another basketball, how am I going to do that when there's a defender that can reach and steal and move in front of me? If an object is really causing you that much discomfort, there has to be some type of reason, I think. So
Yeah,
so I am a fan for it, and I think that it is needed. And not let me not just say for young kids. Like there's high schoolers, there's even college players I've done stuff with. But at the end of the day, I also think it needs to be done in the proper situation with the proper context and the proper
for sure.
understanding behind it. I don't think you just want kids to just start picking up cones when they're arching their back. And
Yeah,
I do see younger kids doing stuff, which I'm not the trainer, so at the end of the day I don't know the context, but it does look like
yeah,
they're not ready for that type of stuff yet. They don't have the control yet. So I think there is a progression type thing behind it as well. And but at the end of the day, honestly, at the end of the day, if a kid's getting in the gym and they believe in it, they're going to get better. And then from there, hopefully them and their trainer continues to grow. And I know there's stuff that I've looked back and done, and I've been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. But so
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think anyone has their heart like, oh, I'm going to get this kid to pick up this cone and take their money. I don't think anyone's doing that. So
I
at
would
the end of
hope
the
not, at
day,
least.
yeah,
Yeah.
I doubt it. But so yeah, I'm a fan for it, but I do think it needs to be, explained properly.
For sure. Yeah. And what you said there's so many overlaps between that situation you just outlined and
Yeah.
nutrition. Like some people are like, oh, should I do this diet? Should I do this? Should I try this? And it's like, maybe.
Yeah.
And people love to bash on, like, for example, like keto or intermittent fasting. And if you're listening or watching, like, don't take this as me saying, like, go do keto, because most basketball players probably not going to benefit you. But like certain dietary protocols and nutritional stuff, could be beneficial depending on the situation. Like you really don't know. People love to look from the outside in and like judge, like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. Oh, I shouldn't be doing this. Should be doing this instead. And like you don't know the context, and context is like the most important thing
Yeah.
in nutrition and training, whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think counting calories is one of the hardest things, if you believe in that or don't believe in it. I've never, ever, ever been able to
Yeah.
understand it, do it, and progress with it. So if you have an idea, if you have some type of program for that, you could be a billionaire. That's hard.
Oh yeah, like actually, I mean, with that, like you said, if you go from like nothing with your nutrition or like not really doing much in terms of like a diet or nutrition to just full blown macro tracking, using MyFitnessPal to weighing everything out and trying to be super precise with it, you're probably not going to have much luck. Some people it clicks and they get lucky and it works for them right away. But just like with basketball, like there's a progression to it. Like I always say, like
That
you're
makes
not
sense.
Like you're not gonna go in and start just pulling up from 3 if you can't make a layup. Most likely,
Yeah.
maybe unless you're Kyle Korver, maybe. But like most cases, you're not gonna be doing that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with your diet. Like you're not gonna be full blown macro tracking if you're not eating any vegetables, or if you're not eating 3 to 4 meals a day. So like there's so many basic things to do first, and then it's like once you got that down, then let's go to counting calories.
Yeah,
I think everyone would benefit from it and doing it correctly for at least
I agree, 100%.
some period of time.
Yes,
but like you said, it's just about the progression to get there. Because if you implement it poorly and don't use that progression to get there, then it's just confusing. It's overwhelming. You don't stick to it. And like, why doesn't this work for me? And then you don't actually do anything or make progress. But yeah, lots of overlaps there between like nutrition and then the on the court stuff with basketball for sure.
Oh, I can believe it. I've seen some. You're right.
For sure. Awesome. Let's get to another question we got. This one's a good one. For small guards, defensive stance, should your torso be more forward where it's down parallel to the ground like Kobe or Avery Bradley's stance, or your torso be more upright like Tony Allen and Pippen? That's a really, really interesting question.
That's very hard. I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I
feel like that's a it depends answer.
Yeah. If I'm being completely real with you, I base everything off of spacing and footwork. I've never even looked at a defender's hips like that. So now you have me. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna start studying that, because I think a defender can really only play you 3 ways: close, arm's length away, far, and 3 types of footwork: squared, slant, or hip shading, like rest in peace Kobe Bryant did. So I've never even looked at their hips. That could be a flexibility thing. You know, I know for me, it was very hard for even me to get wide with my feet when I was in college, just due to poor flexibility and hip mobility. So it could be that, but other than that, I don't know, and I'm gonna study it. So that's a great question. You have me wanting to figure that out now.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I never thought about that before, but yeah,
that's what's so beautiful about basketball. There's so much to it. Yeah. You can never ever learn enough. So I think is his name Matthew?
Yeah, Maddie's a regular on here. He's always asking really good questions like that.
Appreciate you, man. I love your I love your passion for getting better and your eye for seeing stuff like that, because it sounds a lot like, you know, when I was younger, I would always try to find little things like, you know, Kobe just jabbed 3 times, and so like he probably on the second one knew what he was like. I love stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna figure that out too.
That's awesome. On that subject, like, what were some of those things? I mean, I know you mentioned that, like, growing up, you really had to look for like every little thing that you could to give yourself that edge. Like, do you remember any like specific things that stick out in your head as like things that maybe other people weren't really focusing on? You're like, oh yeah, I'm a lock in on that.
Yeah, for sure. It was triple threat stuff. You know, I think one thing was, most people know the first. I call them levels. I call them the 5 levels of triple threat. I think most people know the first one, where when you catch it, obviously you got to read the spacing between you and your defender. If they're off you, you shoot. If they're on you, you drive by whichever top foot they have. And if they're arm's length away, then when you attack the top foot, you just read how they open up. So I think that right there, those 5 levels of triple threat, those help me, because even today, if you ask any of the athletes, you know, now that some of my quickness is going away and, you know, some of my mobility is not as even though I had limited, it's not as much as that anymore. You know, that stuff stays with you forever. When you know how to read and break down a defender's footwork and spacing, that will be forever at any level. It doesn't matter, middle school, high school, or college. So I think that was the first thing. And then the second biggest thing was being able to get the most out of who I was as a player. So, you know, being able to you know, push the ball down the floor and limit my dribbles to maximize my spacing and speed, and you know, being able to really get my eyes up in small spaces where most people didn't. You know, just being able to create those advantages for myself and separate myself from the competition. But the triple threat one is huge.
Got you. Awesome. Well, let's see. I think Maddie's got another follow-up question to.
All right, let's hear it now.
Let's see. What exactly is hip shading?
Okay. So
I'm curious about that one too, because I actually haven't heard that term.
Really? Okay. So yeah, hip shading is when I think you might have seen it, or you guys might have seen it. There was a clip of, I think Kobe was defending Dwayne Wade, and he picked him up full court, and he kept him on like that one side of the sideline almost the entire way.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So hip shading is when you basically are trying to push your defender towards the smallest space on the floor where they have the least advantage. So instead of like if a defender is coming down half court, right, you're probably going to force them to their left. So you literally sit on their right hip and you beg them to go left. And what that does is it helps you because your right foot is kind of downhill. It allows you to already be prepared when they do drive left. And then because you're sitting on that hip, once they try to cross or go right, you're right there. You know, you can pin their arm in, you can pick their pocket, you can do that. So what it does is initially it forces the defender, if they come down half court, to only be able to use 50%, the left side, which is usually their weaker side. And the more they go left, relatively, like the more they lose percentage of the floor. So then they start to only be able to work with 35%, 30%, 20%. So it's a good little way to, I think, when defenders cross half court or in that half court setting, to be able, you can really limit them to not being able to use the full floor, like on a closeout or when you pick them up. So it's very, very good. And for someone unathletic like me, it was a good way to change up things. Sure. Yeah.
Now, what if someone was defending you that way? How would you counter that as the offensive player?
Yeah. Well, I think number one, there's different moves to bait them. I mean, the trigger step is a really good move I use when someone opens up, and it's easier for me because I'm very quick. That is a very big strength of my game.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. So I didn't get the height, so God had to give me something. But
yeah, I got the height, no quickness though.
Man, it's I wish both, but it's no trigger step. Trigger step is definitely one, and that's just basically where you kind of have the ball on your hip, your opposite foot comes back, and you just kind of really tap it quickly on the ground. Kind of like you're pressing on a gas pedal, and it shifts your weight slightly back to where they pull in, and then you can push off. And so I think really shifty moves where you can be on the ground works for someone like that, because if you can pause them or raise them up, then you already have that lane. So it's just kind of throwing off their timing at that moment.
Got you. Okay,
that makes sense.
Makes sense. Maddie said trigger step has used the most unstoppable move. LOL.
Facts. That's so facts. It really is.
In your opinion, what's your go-to move? Like obviously it's going to depend on the player, but cross jab.
Yeah, cross jab. If I have the dribble, I will use that all day. If I'm off the catch, probably I don't know what some people call it. I call it the windmill jab, where you kind of bring the ball out and jab at the same time. And you I think Kyrie uses it, but some people call it a swing jab, a cross like a open cross jab. But some type of move where I can jab and shift at you is what I'm looking for, because I'm quick. Now that I've learned how to get wide with my moves, once I can shift my frame and just get a little opening, I just explode and go. So that's probably my main one.
Gotcha. And if any of y'all are wondering, my go-to move is a catch and shoot corner three.
I was gonna say dunk, but
I'm 6'5", so like I'm up there. But I definitely was not. I was blessed with the height, but not with the athleticism. So I'm getting like basic 2 foot, one hand dunks, but nothing crazy.
Better than me.
I'll trade you a little bit of height for a little bit of quickness.
Any day. I will do it any day. That's funny.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, on the subject of go-to moves and stuff like that, if you're trying to help a player add a move to their arsenal, what does that process typically look like, taking it from ground zero to actually being able to execute it in a game?
I think that's such a great question. And I don't think many trainers have capitalized on that as much as they should have. I heard Gilbert Arenas talking about this once on his podcast, and it changed the way that I thought about this. I think too many coaches, trainers teach moves that players will not use, not because of the reps or because of how fancy it looks, but because it doesn't go towards their strengths. You're teaching them moves that maybe with the space that they can cover or the strength that they have won't go well with them. So I think the first step is to know your player and figure out kind of what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. Start to build an arsenal of moves around that and around the situations they'll be in within their system, which is watching film, being able to see where you get into, what are your spots, where do you typically catch the ball. And then the key is after that, what I've been doing a lot the last 2 years is getting them to play against different people. So for me, I book out sessions for almost, it's crazy now, man, like 12 to 15 hour days. And so what I do is at the end of every session, 10 to 15 minutes, whoever's coming in, I just have whoever's there play them. And it could be a freshman in high school versus a sophomore in college, but they're getting someone different almost every time because not everyone's going to play you the same way. And so what it does is it forces you to use these different counters and different moves and figure out, oh, I do need different stuff. But it forces you to learn in-game reps because I think a lot of kids, they do session reps, they do practice reps of these moves, but a game is completely different, and you got to be able to do both. And so I think that's some of the two major things that I've been doing this year to get them to translate all that through.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I like that idea a lot of having the player at the end of their session, the player at the beginning of their session. That's super interesting. Another thing, I haven't heard that from anyone else. That's
And
super
force
dope.
them, like in one-on-one.
Yeah.
So if they're playing one-on-one, it's not check up, make whatever move you want. It's no, you have to start with the move and then get creative from there. So it forces them to have to use it, because that's another thing. Some players, when you ask them to use the move in games, they shy away from it, or they're nervous to make a mistake or turn the ball over. So that kind of forces them to use the move right then and there, build the confidence, get creative, make it their own. And it's been working really good for the last 2 years. So I would recommend anyone to try it.
Yeah, got you. And then looking at it, obviously this is the major, like, it depends sort of answer, but looking at like roughly how many moves you should really try to have in your bag, like realistically to be able to use in game, like what in a ballpark number, like what are you typically looking at?
Kobe Bryant said 2. He said he has 2 moves in the post, 2 moves off the dribble. I think there was a YouTube video on that. He was in Asia somewhere, and a reporter asked him how many moves you have, and he said 2. I have 2 on the post, 2 off the dribble. And then he said to be predictable is to be unguardable, and a lot of people think the opposite, where you need a whole bunch of different moves. In today's, and that's where I think the biggest disconnect is, where we're in a highlight generation where we all see highlights and we think, man, we got to have 16 different moves. And it's like, yeah, but if we're really thinking about it, when you look at the numbers, 78% of all college baskets the last 2 years, not last year because of COVID, but the 2 years ago, came from 2 dribbles or less. That's nearly 80% of the baskets are with 2 dribbles or less. So, you don't have time to really do all of this stuff, but because we see 3-minute highlights of kids just we think, oh, that's what we have to have. And it's just not, what's real. So I agree. I think 2 at the end of the day, but don't get stuck on that, because what if you are in a situation where you need to be spontaneous? So I think it's great to add little things here or there. What I would say at the end of the day is I try to go with the 80-20 rule. 80% of your game built around 2-3 moves, 20%, not a crazy amount of time, but work with different stuff. Find different moves that might work for you or that you might like to go to, and might be, if you need a bucket, you gotta use. Dame Lillard doesn't do his skip step back every single play, but he does do it when he needs a bucket in a very crunch time situation, because he knows it's going to give him space. So, I would say that for me.
Yeah, for sure. I like that a lot. I like the idea of the 80-20 rule. There's an 80-20 rule in nutrition, not quite the same
I've heard
thing.
it. Yeah.
Not quite the same idea, but it seems like in everything there's some sort of 80-20 rule. So that principle carries over. But yeah, no, that's awesome. And then in terms of helping players, I know you work with like middle schoolers, high schoolers, college players, pro players, like in helping players transition to that next level. Like, what are the differences you see, like from like, especially going into like from high school to college? Like, what are the biggest things that players need to think about when making that transition as smooth as possible?
Know your role. You probably not going to be someone that goes in and just dominates right away. If you are, awesome, even better. But know your
Yeah.
role, because honestly, a lot of progress comes from maturity in athletes. You know, a lot of trainers, even myself, I like to say that, oh, I've helped this player because they're scoring more points this next year, and it's like, yeah, but how much is really development? A lot of it's
Yeah.
probably maturity and a bigger and better role and stuff like that. So I would say just really understand what your role is going to be, master that, get bigger. You know, it's bigger physically, so you want to get stronger. You know, obviously middle school, you're not weightlifting yet, but once you start to get into high school, you really want to be doing some type of free weights maybe, or body weights or something like that, you know, body weight training. And then I think then the third thing is spacing and timing. You know, that's going to be limited. So the more you
Yeah.
move up in levels, the less space and time there is. So you got to really start to be efficient, execute moves, get your shot off quicker, change your speeds, build stuff around that. So yeah, I would say know your role, get stronger, you know, get used to making contact and being more physical, and then you know, understand the limitation of space and time, and build more options, your game around that.
Got you. Got you. And then a few minutes ago, you mentioned like the importance of like spontaneity and creativity and like being able to like kind of go on the fly like, if you need to. And I know like for me personally, that was somewhere where I really struggled because I tend to be more like analytical, like
Yeah.
kind of overthinking things. So how do you help players like that tend to get in their heads a little bit and like try to think about every move they're doing, kind of
Yeah.
get away from that a little bit and just play the game?
It's tough. It's tough because it's their mindset,
For sure.
and it's you know, they might be looking at it like you just said, analytical, in a completely different way that I break a situation down.
Yeah.
So I think there are some drills that help players. There's like reactionary drills where you know, I'll have them, I'll throw the ball to them, or I have them play. I'll have someone close out, and then they, depending upon how the player closes out, that's the move I want them to do. So it kind of brings the drill, brings the moves kind of the way that they want to think about it. And then I think just speeding them up. I think or making them angry. You know, I know sometimes it sounds crazy, but when you make
Yeah.
someone mad, they kind of become just more certain. They take away the analysis paralysis and the fear and the doubt, and they
Yeah.
just do it because they're mad. You know, they're just playing off of instinct. So I know a lot of times, honestly, with my girl hoopers, I will trash talk to them. I will get in their heads, and you know, because they tend to.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a girl or a guy thing, but they tend to be more timid, and you know, I'm like, no, come at me, bump me, hit me, you know, and then you know, it's a struggle sometimes, and then you know, when you trash talk, they're competitors just like anyone else, and then they start to go to you, and then I think you have to stop and talk to them and kind of show
For
them,
sure.
hey, the light bulb's on, like look what you just did, you can do that. And then I think it's just building on top of it from there. So I think
For
it's
sure.
that type of process for everything, really, maybe.
Absolutely. No, I love that. Yeah, like I said, that was something like I wish I was able to better develop during my career because like I was definitely like the more analytical, like kind of, and it definitely gets better. Like you said, it's a lot of it's just reps and like getting confident and
I think confidence too. You're right. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But it's definitely something I know a lot of hoopers struggle with, like getting
Yeah.
in their own heads.
I didn't even think of that.
On that subject though, like let's say you end up in a shooting slump, and
Okay.
this isn't something I've talked about on here, so this is going to be good for a lot of people listening. How would you go about kind of getting yourself out of a shooting slump or helping one of your players get out of a shooting slump?
Oh, get in the gym, get more shots. Not overthink about it, which is easier
Yeah,
said than done. I think it's a rhythm thing. It's a rhythm, and it's a, you know, fear, expectation, standard type thing that you're not meeting your
yeah,
expectations, so you start to overthink. And I think it's a little bit of where you just want to continue to get back to your basics, your fundamentals, your principles, and just try to really get a rhythm and a feel for the ball, and then just try to take it one play, one game at a time. You know, not overthink, not overlook things, and you know, try to put any expectations or fear out of your mind, and just play. So I think that, and remembering who you are. I know sometimes
yeah,
I would go back, watch old film. You know, I know I've heard NBA players say that. Then when they've been in a funk, they go back, they'd watch old film of themselves killing and you know, dominating, and it was like, oh, okay, you know, this is
yeah.
I am good. You know, I can do this. So yeah, I think those are a couple things.
Cool, cool. And let's say we've got another question, so let me bring it up on here. Matt
Matthew's
asked,
killing it today.
he's killing it. He's consistent with it too.
Yeah.
Like I said, I appreciate that. He asked, just curious, how would you defend Harden in ISO situations when you're stuck on an island by yourself? Because he's just so unstoppable. Like I can't find any flaws.
Yeah, he is. That's why he can't be guarded, man. He's unstoppable.
Yeah.
I think I read one time Harden. What James Harden does is I think he goes like, don't quote me on this, I could be wrong, but he will in the off season or one off season, he like repped out 9 different moves for situations. So like I know I said 2 or 3, but like James Harden, what's so elite about him is he will look at how a defender's guarding him, and depending upon how his feet are, that's the option he's going to use. And then he has a counter for that option if they do this or if they do that.
Yeah.
And then he has a counter for those options if they take away this. So he's like basically built like a plan of what he's going to do,
Crazy.
depending upon what the defender does. And I think that is almost unstoppable. I think that's one of the, like, what else can you do? And here's another thing, Matthew, that I think you'll really like. If you think about it over time, think about the evolution of offensive moves and offensive styles and play. Now think about defense. Has really anything changed or broadened or evolved with defense? So I think that's what you're seeing right now. I think you're seeing offense has just become so dominant. There's just been such an evolution of how to play and how to score and what to do. Think about it like back 30, 40 years ago, like they couldn't put their hand on the side of the ball. They couldn't do these swing steps and Euro steps. Like everything was this and, like jump stop stuff. And so the offensive game has just evolved and defense really hasn't evolved that much. So I think there's a huge, like, kind of, just difference. And I think that's why it seems to be so hard to stop offensive players like James Harden as well. So I hope in the future defense starts to evolve and, new things come out.
What do you think that would, obviously it's a tough question to answer. What do you think that would look like as far as like defense evolving?
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, maybe
like offense, you have like different moves and counters, and like it's pretty like obvious how that would evolve over time. Like with defense, like how do you even like?
I think you'd have to look for gray areas. I think that's what has helped the offensive side of basketball evolve is, like technically you can put your hand on the side. Well, if I don't pick up the ball here, I'm technically not taking my first step yet. Like there's so many gray areas. But on defense, it's like if you're arm barring them, technically like a foul could be called. There's no like, oh, I can do this here at this moment and get away with it. I'm sure there is in some, circumstances, but I think there might be some more of that stuff. And then just someone's going to come with a new system or analytics is going to show when you push a player to do this move, like they're at their lowest percentage of makes with this. I'm sure there's going to be something like that. But no, that's a great question.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that you bring up like the whole gray area thing. Now you're seeing all these videos pop up like, is this a travel or not? And it's like it's crazy how like detail you can get with like, oh, his pivot foot moved or it didn't move or like, it's very crazy.
Unclear. Like if you read the rule book, it's very, very unclear on what is technically a travel and what you can do. And that's kudos to James Harden. Kudos to Allen Iverson. He was the one that I think really first started turning his hand on the side when he was doing his crossover. So kudos to these players that exploited the rule book and really found ways to manipulate the rules, honestly.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being a ref at that level. That just seems so hard pressure, bro. I was a ref for like a YMCA league for a little bit, and even that was rough because you get the parents yelling at you and all that. So I can imagine being at high school level, college level, NBA level. It's just like that pressure is crazy for sure.
It'd be hard.
For sure. Another question we got. What are some of the best trainers on YouTube? You're looking at one right here, first of all. And I know there's a lot of beginner stuff. I guess the more advanced trainers. Thank you. Yeah. So what are some of your like favorite resources, like other than yourself, obviously? And if anyone watching this is wondering where to start, you got a great resource right here. But where are you learning from typically?
Yeah, I love Drew Hanlon. He's one of my favorites. He works out Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid. Bradley Beal, other guys. Jordan Lawley, he's someone I really really like. I like who he is as a person as well.
Yeah.
My guy Tyler Ralph, we had him out to Maine last year for our top high school camp, and he is phenomenal, and he is the real deal.
Yeah.
Um, I know DJ Sackman. I love the way if you look at like details and nuances, I really love how DJ Sackman breaks down the game like that. So those are like probably the ones I go to. I know Devin Williams in the lab. He's
Oh
someone
yeah.
that I really love. I love and what's cool is they're all so different. They all have like a style that they really kind of just are an expert in. So
Yeah.
those, if you're looking for a good five, what was that five? Drew, Jordan, yeah, Tyler, DJ, and Devin. Those are probably my favorite five, honestly, outside of Maine, of course.
Dope, dope. And then let me pull up I think we got a couple of other questions I got from the Instagram box. Let me pull that
Nice.
up real
These are
quick.
great questions.
They are. You guys, you guys watching live right now, definitely keep asking questions in the comments, and we will keep pulling them up. And then if you guys are watching in the replay, we do these live. So if you guys want to ask questions directly to our guests, then tune in to the live interview.
Dope.
Let's see. Where's the question box? Here it is. All right. This is an interesting one. So Jacob from Instagram, so shout out Jacob if you're watching this in the past broadcast. I don't think you're in here right now, but he asked how to identify weaknesses and strengths in your game without using film.
Well, what'd you struggle with? Where'd you turn the ball over? What were your worst games? Who were you playing against when you either couldn't score, or made a lot of turnovers, or felt like you weren't in a rhythm? But man, yeah, that's tough. Film is one of the most important things because it visually shows you what you're doing wrong. It would be so, unless you have a memory like LeBron where you can just remember every single play.
That interview was crazy.
Right? Yeah, like I can't do that. So, but film, and also what I read film does is it kind of programs your mind that when you start seeing this situation over and over and over and over and over, when you get into a game and it happens, your mind kind of quickly just alert your body to do exactly, and then it just takes over. So, yeah, I think film is huge. But if you don't have it, just see what you did wrong, what games were your worst, and go from there. Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy now that you say that. Whenever like VR gets to a point where like you can like film of yourself in it, like in a game, like
Trippy.
From the point of view of you being in a game, like that would be wild.
Trippy. Yeah, that would be. Kids would be so lucky. I'll probably.
Even now, like looking at the resources people have available to them, like to get better as basketball players, versus like even like I'm 20, so I'm pretty young still. But even when I was playing, like the evolution from then till now is crazy.
I know. Well, just think, I'm 27, and it's like COVID and when everything happened, and kids were forced to actually go outside and play. It's like, dude, this is I'm not crazy old, and it's like that's what we had to do when I was y'all's age. Like this is not a big deal. This is literally how some of your favorite players got to where they were. They played outside all day long. And yeah, so you're right. It's so funny how quickly things can change, and a lot of it from the internet and social media.
Yeah, overall, it's definitely a net positive, but I think, like you said, there is that sort of like overcomplication of everything now. Like they think they have to be in a gym and using the best possible equipment and all these like new gadgets and stuff. But overall, it's simple. But
process is still the same. Got to put in work more than the other person.
For sure. Awesome. Well, another question we got was, do you think you have to be explosive in order to be shifty? Do you think they go hand in hand?
No, I don't think so. I think you got to be wide. I think your stance has to be wide, but no, because Paul Pierce was pretty shifty and he wasn't very explosive.
Yeah, for sure. That's good news for me. So I still have hope to.
Yeah. No, maybe
develop.
Wide. You just got to be able. I think you got to be able to do different things with your body. You got to get it in different positions, and you got to be able to, do you have to have. I know one of the things is mobile ankles. You got to really be able to do what's called an ankle drop, and being wide helps with that. But No, you don't have to be explosive. You just have to really understand how to reposition your body, move your body, and change your speeds.
Talk about that a little bit, like the importance of changing your speed. Because I see a lot of players, and I know I was guilty of this. Like when I was playing, like thinking game speed means just going extremely fast all the time and as hard as you possibly can, like all the time. And why is it important for players to be able to shift from like slow to kind of in between to fast and back to slow again? And like what is the role of that?
Yeah, just defenders will never know what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. You're just kind of. I know Kobe said be predictable, but in this case, you want to be unpredictable. You don't want a defender to be able to know when you're going to go, or and over a period of the game, you become easier to guard. If you're fast all game, a defender will start to catch on to when you make moves, when you cross, when you start to do pullbacks. If you're slow all game, obviously, defender knows and they catch on to your speed. So it just constantly forces the defense to adjust and change their positioning and predict what you're going to do. And that's very, very hard.
Got you. And then another question we got is, in your opinion, who do you think is the most unstoppable player in the league?
James Harden.
James Harden?
Yeah.
What do you think? I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but like, what do you think makes him specifically the most unguardable?
Yeah, he could just he hits tough shots. He can get to the rim. He's a great shooter. He's got the green light. He's confident. He can technically. I know people don't think he can, but he can go either way. He uses the mid-range game. He knows how to create separation. Of course, we all know this. I also think he for years exploited the rule book in a different way. So he's created an edge over everyone else, where everyone else is creating space by the rule book type way. He found a way to create extra space, and he has changed the game with that. He was one of the first to do that. So yeah, I just think it's all of those things: his height, his ability to read the defense. I don't think he gets a lot of credit for how smart he is. He has to have a crazy high IQ just to train and learn those moves and be able to diagnose and break down the defender like that. So I think it's all of that. And he definitely probably is committed. So yeah.
Got you. Definitely makes sense. And then kind of just curious from my perspective, who do you think is going to win the title this year?
Yeah, it's going to be definitely different now. I'm actually behind with keeping up with what even is going on. I know they're going to bring it back sometime at the end of July, but I think I would say Lakers. I think Lakers or Clippers. I know it sounds bad, but you just don't know who's going to come back either. Like who's every day I see this player's not returning. This player.
I think yesterday Avery Bradley. I think it was yesterday or the day before said he wasn't coming back.
Yeah, see, you just don't know. So but I would say Lakers if I'm picking one.
Solid choice. Yeah, I've been a diehard Laker fan pretty much my whole life. So after that stretch of like 6 or 7 years where it was rough for a minute there, it's good to see them finally back in a position where winning is a real possibility.
Yeah. No, that is awesome.
Gotcha. Then Maddie's got another question from the comments. Bron, CP3, Rondo, and Harden have. It's not really a question, more of a statement. But do you agree with that statement?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at LeBron, just from the way he broke those plays down, I mean that's insane. I could not believe that when he's done it twice. He did it one time after All-Star break and one time after another game, and it was just like
he was in the finals.
Yeah, the finals. That was one of the other times. It's just like it's like. How do you I mean, obviously we've all played pickup. We've all done the thing where it's like, no, you scored it this time and you put it like to every single play. And then Chris Paul, if you look at his age, he had one of his best years efficiency wise, I think, on a team where everyone was writing him off. They're like, no, he's done for. Rondo for sure. He completely was. If you look at the way he plays, you're like, there's no way he's going to be successful, and he is. I think he's one of the best passers as well. That's what helps him. and Harden. We talked about him. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that is just crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of anyone right now.
I'm sure there's someone, but yeah, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I know Steph Curry's just a freak. I was listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. No, but I agree with those four for sure.
Awesome. And then another one from the Instagram questions box was thoughts on dipping the ball when shooting.
Yeah, I know there's a huge debate right now where, and I have players that do both. Some that dip, some that don't. I don't know if you follow him at all. And actually, this is another one. This is another great trainer. I can't believe I forgot, but Mike Dunn.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I've seen his stuff like here and there, and then I finally started following him a couple weeks ago, and it's crazy.
He's an awesome guy. I brought him up to Maine as well. A phenomenal person. One of the kindest, like most giving and generous people you ever meet.
Awesome.
He really talks about, and he got it from the Miami Heat shooting coach, Rob. He talks about, when we catch the ball, the only thing we should be doing is going up from there. We shouldn't add any variables, any extra motions, any extra, breakage or changes, because then when you have to have more variables, you have to be more perfect. And that just becomes very hard from different situations, step backs, left hand dribble, right hand dribble, coming off screens. So what they say is, if you can just catch and go up, you can repeat that from any situation and from any hand that you're dribbling off of. What happens with the dip, you're going and you're moving in the opposite direction of where you want to go first. So even though, yes, it might add rhythm or power, it technically could change the way that you move the ball up. And if all we're trying to do is be efficient and be quick, then moving the ball up should be the main thing we're trying to accomplish. And so that's what they say, and I agree 100% with them. So if you do dip, I don't think that's bad. Like, obviously perfect it. Like, obviously you have another variable, so you're going to have to dip from different situations, and that's fine. You just got to master it. But if you are starting from the ground up and you're young, I would 100% probably say don't dip. Let the ball move first and let your hips come underneath it and just move that ball up and then break it towards the rim at your peak.
Got you. Awesome. Well, dude, an hour just flew by. I didn't even realize we've been going for almost an hour.
That's crazy.
I feel like we could keep going for much longer, but we'll start to wrap it up. As we start to wrap up, everyone in the comments right now, keep asking questions. We'll get to them before we end the live. Appreciate you guys tuning in. But where can everyone keep up with what you're doing, everything you got going on with social media, and if they're trying to train with you or work with you, where's the best place to keep up with everything that you got going on?
Yeah, I'm probably most active on Instagram at Coach Ben Teer. That's Teer. It's right on the sweatshirt right here. I'm on Facebook though, Teer Basketball Training. Not really on Twitter, but definitely Instagram and Facebook are the two biggest ones. And I try to answer all DMs. I get a lot, so bear with me if I don't get to it. Just keep sending it through, and I won't forget you. I won't not hit you back. I'm not someone like that. I just try to really get to everybody.
Awesome. No TikTok yet?
Oh my goodness, yes, I do have TikTok. Yeah,
I've been trying to get on there.
So I have a crazy story. My first 3 or 4 posts went viral. I had millions of views and hundreds of thousands of views. Yeah, and so I have like 77,000 followers.
That's crazy.
But I just don't understand it still. Like, all my posts blew up. Like, I don't get it though, man. And I'm trying to post content, but I feel so old and weird, like dancing and trying to do like stuff that actually is on the app, not just like training videos. It's hard.
I've been trying so hard to figure it out. I'm low key I'm kind of jealous, man. I wish I've been posting. I go on and off. Like, I'll get on there for a couple weeks at a time, like go super hard, see if something pops off, and it doesn't. I'm like, you know what? I'll come back to it later. Yeah. So we'll see. But it's super interesting. Like, some things just like go crazy, and then from there, it's just kind of, once one goes viral, that really helps a ton. But
I think a lot of people went to it during quarantine, and you see it dying down a little bit. But Yeah, no, I am on that as well. I don't post as frequently, and anything I probably post on there, I've posted on Instagram or
Yeah.
Facebook first. So you might as well just follow me on those two. And if you want to follow me on TikTok, I would love the more followers, but I'm probably not very on it. So
Awesome. Well, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. This was definitely a great conversation. We're definitely gonna have to run it back for a round two. Because like
appreciate you, man.
we could have kept going for I don't even know how long, but just with all the questions we got. And really appreciate you guys asking questions. Again, if you're watching the past broadcasts, you can actually come on here live, ask questions to the guests directly, which is always a really cool thing. And then if you're new around here, coming from Ben's page, you can follow this channel, subscribe to this channel for nutrition tips for hoopers 3 times a week. I'm on Instagram at T Clark Nutrition, posting stuff like I think I'm on there like 3 times a day, posting nutrition stuff. So if you guys need help with that, I'm here to help out. Again, same thing like Ben said with the DM. Shoot me a DM. If I don't respond, just hit me up again. Probably just missed it. Promise I'm not ignoring you. But I do appreciate the support. Let's say we have one last question that got snuck in from Matt. He's saying, who's winning in ones? You, Tyler Ralph, or DJ?
Man, well, I gotta say me, as the competitor. Yeah, they're a little bit older than me, so I have a couple more rounds and games, and I can get a couple of more combinations in me. I have fresher legs, so I'm saying me, but I've never met DJ. I know Tyler is 6'2", 6'1", so I think he's about that height. I might be giving him more inches, but he can shoot, man. He can. That's the thing that I was noticing. Like he can dribble and everything. Don't get it twisted. But that guy came into camp and just from half court, just
Crazy.
I was kind of like, okay, all right. No, but yeah, that would be a fun game. We got to do it. We do.
For sure. Awesome. Well, Ben, I appreciate you tuning in. Everyone else who tuned in, I appreciate you guys stopping by, saying what's up, asking questions, and we will see you next time for the next episode.
Perfect. Thank you, man.